Gentrification isn't a news story in Austin.
I found out that I had to move 3 months before the actual move-out date.
Move all the blacks out, bring all the white people in on the east side.
You didn't listen to us, but now when they move in the community, they get whatever they want.
There are ways in which the city is distinctly inhospitable for black people.
But people have to remember that equality is not the same thing as equity.
But in Austin, what you saw was tremendous growth in the general population and simultaneous African American decline. My name is Eric Tang. I'm a assistant professor in African and African diaspora studies at the University of Texas at Austin. And in 2014, I co-authored a report about Austin's declining African American population. What we discovered ultimately is that the inequalities in Austin are such that African Americans don't find the same opportunities that other people find, that other racial groups find in this booming economy. That in fact African Americans are being displaced.
Tell me what you're doing. Do we know what we're doing? If not, then raise your hand. I think I do. Right? If not, just raise your hand. Stand still. First of all, stop that talking. 5, 6, 7, 10. Please stop. Wait a minute. Potty shop. I started Ballet Afrique in 2008. Okay. And I started it because as a dancer here in Austin, I just felt like there was not a representation of African American dance in Austin. So part of what I like to do with my arts education, I believe in, not just teaching it, but actually going to see it and do it. And it was really a challenge to find showcases that reflected them, and I just noticed a disconnect between the students and the art. Well, how can they appreciate any art form when they don't even know what their artistic form is, or have never seen themselves represented in dance? And so when my students see their beautiful culture but don't see themselves represented in it, they just have this complete disconnect from their African roots and who they are. Some people think, well, we're in America. Why is it important to connect to your African roots? And I think it is one thing that we can hold on to. I just think of it as a tool, because if it's not that, then what is it? Then it's your African American history, which starts from slavery, and no person wants to think of themselves as my beginnings was a slave. And so I think that the entire way we learn about ourselves sets us up in a way that we need this more than ever now. Don't stand on the side and not know something. And if somebody is irritated, oh my God, you asked something. I found out that I had to move 3 months before the actual move-out date, or less, which is not enough time to find a space and move. Especially for a dance studio, it is so important to me that, one, that my students feel like that the space that they're surrounding is cared for and loved. I want them to feel important when they walk in the door. I want them to feel like, that what they do is valuable and important. And nothing speaks like that than a wonderful building with real dance floors and real mirrors. I feel that these kids are deserving of that in their community.
among the fastest growing cities in the United States, cities that have seen double-digit growth. None of those cities saw a simultaneous decline in African Americans, except for one, Austin, Texas. So as you know, in 1928, the city developed a master plan that created the so-called Negro District, and it effectively pushed 80% of the black population here to the east side. Well, decades later, that segregated area became coveted real estate for a new professional class. Essentially, it became the target of gentrification. So when you see the convergence of segregation and gentrification, as you did here in Austin, you'll see the rapid displacement of a particular population, and in this case, it's African Americans.
But I grew up on the east side of Austin. Right now I stay in Pflugerville.
Okay.
But I personally feel like they're trying to lighten up Austin, you know what I'm saying? That's move all the blacks out, bring all the white people in on the east side. Because if you go to the east side right now, it's not the same. When I was growing up in church, man, you see dope dealers on the corner dealing right on the church grounds. But you go over there today, man, you see white people walking their dogs, running, jogging. You got, what I'm saying, Caucasians living next door to the church. When back in the early 90s, you wouldn't find it. White people be scared to go to the east side. But now it's like they taking over. Then they building all those high rises, all those condos.
One side we get from a lot of folk is, people are, these traditional black communities are no longer black anymore, right? Other people are moving in, they're buying the property, property values going up, and people losing their houses because they can't pay the taxes. Now, on its surface, that is not necessarily a bad thing. The bad thing comes in when the city starts paying attention to that community now that it is being gentrified. Because when white folks moved back, they got assurances. Schools would be better, police protection would be better, you know what I mean? City services would improve. And I think what black people are upset about is that we've been asking for these things over the last 50, 60, 70, 80 years. And you didn't listen to us, but now when they move in the community, they get whatever they want. I think the suburbs provide great opportunities. I mean, the biggest reason middle-class black folk don't move to Austin, number one, we are not gonna pay $500,000 to live in a 2-bedroom cottage. That's not happening. Because we don't want to ride our bikes to work. You know what I mean? And so when you move to the suburbs, you get more house for your dollar. Dollar goes a little bit further. School systems are better, and I just think in a lot of I think suburbs are more conducive to raising kids. Sometimes we are addicted to these neighborhoods we grew up in, and not realizing it may be a good deal that they coming in, that the value of your house went up, and you can sell and cash out, right? You can sell and cash out for $400, $450, and now you have built an economic base for your family. So while I definitely understand the criticisms, I think it's an opportunity that black homeowners can take advantage of to cash out and get that money and go live somewhere else where the quality of life may be better.
There are a lot of longstanding African Americans, particularly the older generation, that hold on to their homes, that stay in these neighborhoods because they feel a sense of rootedness, a sense of pride. And I think it's incumbent upon us as scholars, as activists, as just socially conscious people to do what we can to support them to stay in their homes. A lot of families are, in areas that exemplify what we call the suburbanization of poverty. So they're moving out to the suburbs, but these suburbs are not what they were 50 years ago. These suburbs are isolated. They're places that don't have, a lot of economic activity, don't have many supermarkets. And so isolation is also a huge problem, and it affects their quality of life. So don't be fooled by I've got more square footage out in Pflugerville or Del Valle. I'm not going to say that that's not important, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people are doing better or that they're happier.
the more black folk that come here, then I think the more attractive it will be for other black, professionals and, educators and, folk who are moving into the realm of their life where they're raising family and or they're just young professionals before they get started with that. I think that the more gravity that they build here and the more it'll draw people here.
You get a number of ways in which Austin is just not a place that black people feel excited about. There are ways in which the city is distinctly inhospitable for black people, that the educational system, the public education system has not served black citizens well, the police brutality which continues in Austin. So there are those kinds of institutional impediments to feeling like a full citizen in the city if you're black.
It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place for anybody. I mean, that's one of those things it's a universal concept. Either it's a good place for a human to live or it's not, measured by certain standards.
Yeah.
In a capitalistic society, there's a burning desire to get more money, and there's a burning desire to develop, but not necessarily with a full understanding of what development means, cultural development or environmental development that has to balance out a development that, is based solely on the acquisition of money.
Ballet Austin is one of those companies that I have seen since I was a little girl. That company actually started in a building off Guadalupe, and the city of Austin, they were renting that space from the city of Austin for, rumor is, $1. But my whole thing is that with that help, they were able to transition and grow into this amazing, amazing company and space, and one of the best well-known companies in the United States. And I just think if we had that opportunity, if we had some help, then just imagine where we would be in 2 years from now.
I could have sent Kayla to any dance school in Austin. But I appreciate the fact that she's learning all these amazing skills. She is learning ballet and contemporary and modern, but at the same time she's also learning African, and China has a way of incorporating culture into the contemporary and the ballet, and it's just a beautiful mix of all of it. I was even considering recently moving out of state, but I know that she won't be able to, I won't find what she's getting from Ballet Afrique anywhere else.
Ballet Afrique is definitely a space that changes you for the rest of your life. And it's not just for my students, but even the moms. I think we feel like we have something, we own something. And I think it's important because we have to find different ways to reach out to our children, to help them feel successful. And what I think what art does, especially when you can see yourself reflected in it, what I think it does is it teaches you to create something from nothing. So if I have this dance in my head and in my heart, and then I put it out and I talk about it and then I do it, then it's a process of learning how to create and to have ownership. Like sometimes when you come from low-income families, you have this concept, you don't have an understanding of owning something or building something, so things aren't important. See, diversity is not, you have an African day, that's not diversity. Diversity is that all children feel represented, that it's part of the curriculum, it's part of the music, it's part of art. I mean, it's so simple to incorporate culture into so many different aspects, and I think it benefits everybody, not just African Americans. Because if we all feel equal, then we can all be at the table together, and nobody is feeling less than.
It could be a renaissance. It could happen, but it'd have to be one of those things, like, I think that's related to the art movement. And you got some very talented, black artists here. Writers Against the Storm is like really on the forefront of producing positive, powerful music that's Afrocentric with the positive image associated with it. So if you have a movement like that, for example, when you have other artists coming into the city and a movement starts building around the reputation of, hey, Austin has this burgeoning art, music, Afrocentric cultural scene, then that'll draw people here.
You can't make a living here as an artist. As much as the city likes to proclaim how friendly it is to the arts, you have to have another job in order to be a working artist in this city, and that is not sustainable.
By 2020, when we take the next census, Austin runs the risk of becoming the fastest growing city in the decade between 2010 and 2020. The fastest growing city in the United States, and the only such city that saw a simultaneous decline in its African American population. So that would be a rather startling statistic, if you ask me, and a damning statistic. It's not one that I think the city would be proud of.
I think in 10 years, Austin is going to be a very white city. I think some of the institutions that I had been so connected to, like Pro Arts and others, will probably be non-existent.
Black men need to just step up, raise your kids, be involved, not just sports, get out there and vote. That Black Lives Matter, don't just say it because you see it on Instagram or Facebook, but actually believe in it, participate. When they're having city council and voting for Bill 1, 2, or 3, put your input in, Only way we're gonna stay around is if we have somebody up there representing us. If not, then we just gonna fade away. Then black men just gonna slowly die down and be extinct.